What's up, everybody? I got a crazy hard hat hair talk for you all today. This video is geared towards people who are in high school looking to get into the trades, specifically to be an electrician. So I kind of just wanted to give you some insight into like the tool expectations, as well as like how to get placed with a good contractor. And let's say it doesn't go your way perfectly. Other ways that you can find yourself getting into the trade and starting right off the bat, so you don't have to get into a job that is not something that you're really into. So my personal opinion on the construction industry, I'm a fan of being an electrician. I like that you don't really have as much oversight, and your work doesn't seem like it's not all just in pages and numbers. It's real. You can actually see what you're doing, and so there's every day is more or less different. There's certain jobs that do drag, but it is definitely a sort of situation where you certainly can see progress in what you're doing, and you get a skill. So I think it is an attractive profession, not to mention the fact that you could potentially run your own business down the line, or at least do side work, which is really nice because a lot of people are restricted by the amount of hours that they work in determining their income, and they get stuck in that sort of well, I need more hours to get more money sort of perspective, and they never really have any other methods or modes of income. So so I'd recommend that if you are 17 or you're like 16 or something, and you're thinking about this, I would say go to the union for your city. If you live in a big city, you more than likely have an electrical union, and not every union is gets a lot of work, but it is certainly a better way, in my opinion, to start out in the trade, and potentially also in general, because unions have better wages and they don't force as many requirements for tools onto you. So the tool list is an extensive tool list. You're probably going to spend somewhere around $500 if you're in the union on your tools, maybe even more. But you don't have as many costs as someone who's a non-union electrician. So getting in there, they also are much more giving, in terms of you'll get an education, you'll learn how this stuff works, you'll learn outside of just running wires, what you're doing and the theory behind it, and also they'll have a structured code, code book topics where you can go through and you can sort of actually see how the building code is. So it's definitely gives you more structure. It's more of a rigid education that you get, and that's definitely a method that I would recommend for someone starting out, that they go that route, especially because a lot of states are starting to go and put requirements, having specific cards that are required for electricians to be electricians. That's not exactly holistically across the board yet. There's certain states that are more pushing that at the forefront and actually policing it. Like in California, it's more so, especially in commercial, not so much in residential. You can still find a lot of work out there without getting your electrician trainee card, which the prerequisite for that is that you be enrolled in school of some sort for the trade. So it's a more rigid structure, and also you don't have to pay as much out of pocket. Your wages are also going to go up incrementally and regularly. You don't have to make an argument for your case. I think it is a very good choice to go that route. So if you are someone who's thinking about getting into the trades, I'd recommend that you go, and the 5-star route would be to go into a union apprenticeship. Now, with that said, it is the gold standard for going that route. So a lot of people apply, and and there's not a lot of ways that you can make yourself stand out as someone who doesn't have any experience and you're looking to get experience. So let's say you can't get experience. I'd say the easiest ways to get hired I guess this is kind of an outlier, but if you do know someone who's in the trade, reach out to them, because nepotism really is strong in the trades, and it's a lot of people really far. So like, if you know somebody, definitely get in with their company. It's going to be potentially an easier route to get a year and a half, 2 years experience, and then, you know, make your way on to wherever else you'd like to go if you want to jump ship and try to find a better company. There's also there's that. I know a lot of people who have gotten into non-union commercial electrical companies, and they have had zero experience. And like, people will apply and they'll be like, oh, there's no openings, they must be too exclusive for someone like me with no experience. But to that, I'll say you just chose to reach out at the wrong time. And so one thing that I would recommend to understand for you all, if you're applying to electrical companies and construction in general, they kind of go in ebbs and flows. So like, December, terrible month to try to find work. November as well. Like, if you're in the last quarter of the year, you know, if it's like September, you'll probably be fine. But in my experience, a lot of companies do not hire in the last quarter of the year. A lot of their projects are like closing up, and it just seems to work that way, especially in commercial. Residential, not so much. I mean, people are building homes all the time. So, in my opinion, I've never really had a lot of like hardship in that sense. Like, if you work with a residential company, you can find like a smaller shop, and they have like less, they have like a good amount of work, and you're like roping apartments and roping houses and stuff, and you're just jumping from one to the next and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing residential work, but you do very quickly find yourself like doing the same thing very frequently, and so you're like, oh well, switch and plug, and like, that's all you're doing. And then like, you might make up a panel every once in a while, and then it's very like repetitious work for new build work as an electrician. Not saying it's not hard, but it's very repetitive. So just to keep that in mind, that the cyclical sort of nature of starting at the right time in a trade can be very like, that can make or break you getting a job. So like, let's say you're like 17, right? And let's say school gets out in May or June, and you graduate, right? So maybe try to apply like in April or March, just to get your name on a roster, you know, putting out your application ahead of time so that you can have that out there, so that you are at least in a queue of some sorts. Like, they're going to have a situation where they're going to be like, oh, we need more guys, and then you will be the one that they pick up. And then just like that, you could be finding yourself in a with a contractor. So just something to consider. Like, if you live in a bigger city and you have access to the union, I definitely recommend you go that route. Just know that there are certain windows when you can apply, and you should definitely be careful with making sure you don't miss any deadlines. The thing that I feel like makes or breaks a lot of people's success with getting into the union is simply like quadruple checking everything, like calling. I know that they don't like you calling because they are relatively short-staffed, but a lot of them will just direct you to their webpage, and the webpage will have important dates and deadlines that you must meet for, you know, providing prior experience, or providing after you submit your application, or a particular period of time where the application can obligation out if you don't like renew it. So that's like, there's a bunch of different things with the union. It's a very highly sought after thing, and depending upon the amount of work in your city, you know, that can be a real determining factor. So understand that you should start early, because it is a long line that you are going to have to wait in to get into it. So just keep that in mind if you're going the union route. Going the non-union route, I'd recommend that you start somewhere around like January if possible. Like if or not January, but like just not in the last quarter. I think if you have bad luck getting in to a company, I don't think that you should, but you want to get in with that company specifically. Like you've heard they get a lot of prevailing wage work. You heard that they have a lot of overtime, or they work in like they work and you have like a good benefits package, or you know, they don't make you have a lot of personal tools, like they actually compensate you for stuff, then those are things that you should like be like, oh, that contractor still exists. They may decline me that one time, but let me stay consistent and persistent, and I'll maybe make my way through. So I'd recommend those two things. If you cannot get with a commercial contractor, I'd recommend that you do like a Google search and try to find residential contractors that are available, and basically just go down a list of highly rated people on Google, or you could also do other review websites as well, like Yelp. I think Google is probably the more prominent one if you're really looking for a strong candidate that is actually like a legit company with like a good bid limit. For residential, I would say as a caveat that you should more gravitate towards high-end residential contractors, because they do a lot more. You'll learn a lot more in a year at a high-end residential company than you would at just like a bunch of cookie cutter home type of residential builder, or like they do apartments only or something like that. Definitely a lot to learn for sure, but it is something where you can edge out a little bit of an advantage by seeking something with a slightly better just a better contractor. So I'd recommend that for sure. And you can go down the list as well. I'd recommend you do not get into service. You're brand new. You don't really have that sort of foundation of how things are built to really roll you into service. But a final thing that does work for a lot of people, I know a lot of guys have gotten into electrical by first doing solar. So solar, if you all are not aware, yes, you do things with electricity, but I would not describe the people who do solar, at least in the places where I have worked, as like electricians. Like they know how, like solar has they have proprietary connectors that make things basically dummy proof. And so like if you try to hook the positive to the positive or positive to the negative, like you'd encounter a male and female connector that only allows a connector of one type to go into a connector of another type. So you can't like connect the microinverters to like the wrong lead basically. So so I know a lot of guys that have said like, oh yeah, I did a year of solar and now I got access to be an electrician. So awesome. So I'd highly recommend that you reach out to solar companies if you're not having a lot of luck with getting in with straight up electrical contractors. And one way that I would encourage you to, or one reason I would encourage you to do this is because what are they called? Solar companies have commission on installs. So if you are someone who does 2 installs a day, you're going to see like a commission bonus on top of your normal pay, which is amazing for someone who's just out of high school and, you know, you're are a considerable amount of like commercial and residential electrical contractors that do like small solar bids. So like if work ever gets slow and the new build commercial construction sites run out of work, you can switch divisions to solar and not have to like go on the books or look around for work. So another thing that I'd recommend, so solar is not a bad get up at all. So if you go that route or are considering going that route, a lot of people use it as their gateway entry into the electrical trade. And also, if you get with a contractor and you sort of understand where in the ranking this contractor sort of falls, like you see that you're not really getting a lot of experience, you see that like the interactions between management and like what is your responsibility is not great. It's not like, don't think that no one wants, like, you won't get a job anywhere else. Don't sell yourself short that way. And a lot of apprentices do, like, they're like, oh, I'm so lucky to even have had this opportunity, like the electrical industry, and I just kind of made a video about this, but the electrical industry really, and construction at large, thrives off of like low cost labor. Because as an electrician, knowing now, I've been in the trade for 5 years. I'm a journeyman electrician. I now have guys that I dish out work for. Knowing what I know now, being on the opposite end of things, I am doing nothing different than what I was doing when I first started out. I'm not doing anything different. All that I do that's different now is I can, dish out work for other people and check their work, and also have an intuitive feel for what's next. Like, without even having to see the blueprints, like, you see like an open area, you're like, okay, so what's the lighting plan look like? What's the power plan look like? What are we providing power for? Is there any special requirements for this area? Is this like a cookie cutter like warehouse that we're doing, or is it like a casino where we need like outlets for like slot machines, or like, what are we, you can have that, like, this is a school, okay, so we need like an outlet in the ceiling for a projector, and it's like, okay, so like you just know like certain things about like how things are going to be, and you can sort of, you have that knowledge and that experience, and that allows you to be able to just, basically spawn into a place and have the know-withal to go and get things done. So as someone who's straight out, just starting, got a job, like, don't think that you are beholden to one company. A lot of companies do have like if you look at a list of contractors that are non-union, if you haven't heard about it, there's something called the ABC program in a lot of states, and it's not explicitly like a trade school, like ones that are just straight up like you go in, you apply, you pay like $20,000 or something insane, or $10K for a education about a trade, and they don't even place you with an employer. So that's like straight up trade schools. But the ABC program works in coordination with a bunch of non-union contractors. They understand that they have to educate, their workforce, but they don't want to pay as much wages. So they have, well, not necessarily, but a lot, by and large, non-union contractors do not pay as much as union contractors. They do not look out for you as much. A lot of stuff is your responsibility. You provide it, and be grateful that you're even working. It's not the whole truth. Some places are out there, are different, but for the vast majority, it's just get in, get the job done, and then you'll get laid off. Like, it's not uncommon that you'll find that. And one way to get around that is to go on the list of ABC contractors. You can go to the ABC program for your state, city, whatever, and look at contractors that were highlighted in that list and then apply to them. And doing that, you will have the benefit of getting with a contractor that, you know, does a lot of work and also is in coordination with providing, like, sponsoring people through a apprenticeship program. That just means that you are beholden to them for about 5 years during the time while you're in school. So then again, right there, electrical contractors and construction contractors generally benefit from the model of people not knowing things by getting people to lock into a 5-year contract, basically, where they get 5 years of low-cost labor. So like they need you guys. So like they benefit in so many ways. It's honestly absurd. Like when I say that I'm doing no different things, I just have more knowledge. Like, I'm doing the same things that apprentices would be doing, but in terms of like doing work, but I just have the 5 years experience at this point, where now you're given like certain other responsibilities, like in certain like managerial stuff, and you actually get to see behind the curtain and stuff, and like they actually give you blueprints and stuff. Yeah, so those are a couple of things to keep in mind if you are trying to get into the electrical trade and you are someone who is either just like getting out of school or you're thinking about it now. Like, if you're thinking about it now, and you're just, like, this applies to people who aren't just in like school thinking about a career change or career path. It works for anybody who's considering a career change and is looking to do that in the near future. So if you're looking to do that, prepare now. You don't want to just get in with anybody that will take you. You will very quickly learn that there are good contractors and bad contractors and meh contractors. I'd recommend that you try to look at company websites and see what the bid limit is for the contractor, because by and large, at least for commercial electrical contractors, if their bid limit is like around 10 million or under like 20 million for their bid limit on their page, they typically are just too small to provide you with long-term work. And that's just my personal anecdotal experience, but I have gotten with a company since that has much greater bid limits. They recently bid a data center for 60 million in Vegas, and yeah, so they are a much more legitimate company. It's the most legit company I have worked for, and my experience with them is vastly different than my experience in other companies. So that is something to consider as well. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you are watching this as someone else and have any other tips, feel free to leave a comment, and or I could make another video about other things that weren't touched on in this video. So hope you guys appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.